protecting Main Street from Wall Street. It's Chris Hoffman with Money Unleashed.
How much money do you put into your checking account from work on a month-to-month basis? It has a high probability that with your investable assets, we can replace that paycheck.
It's time to put you back in control of your money.
You've worked for 35 years. It's time for you to not stress. It's time for you to enjoy and live the retirement you want to live.
It's Money Unleashed with Chris Hoffman.
Welcome into Money Unleashed with Chris Hoffman. We appreciate you checking out the podcast. New episodes come your way on Monday and Friday each and every week, so make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, you can catch Money Unleashed every Sunday on 95.5 WSB in Atlanta. Tune in for 2 great hours of conversations geared toward getting you thinking about your financial present, your financial future, and ways to help you build the retirement you want. That's every Sunday on 95.5 WSB from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. If you've been watching much of the news here lately, then you may have heard a thing or two, or 3, about the Trump administration's wide-ranging policy and plans that have gone into effect over the past month or so. One of those is taking a closer look at government spending, something that billionaire Elon Musk and DOGE have been tasked with. Social Security got a lot of attention last week when Musk shared findings on social media that people up to 150 years old are currently receiving Social Security benefits, which, of course, set off a firestorm of debate that we won't solve here on today's show, but suffice it to say, that math ain't mathin'. So, Chris, Social Security is seemingly under the microscope a lot of the time, and its long-term viability has been questioned. So what, if anything, should we make of this latest round of scrutiny?
Are you telling me my grandparents are eligible for Social Security and I haven't been collecting it? And
That's what I'm telling you.
They passed away quite a long time ago. That's a scary stat.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting week or two we've had with DOGE. I believe Elon Musk asked federal employees to email 4 things that they have 5 things that they have accomplished, and it's been it's trying to be blocked, and and he basically said, "Look, I suspect one of 2 things that we're going to find. Number one is people are still employed that have passed away." And the second thing is that people are not working. They won't even read this email that he sends them. If that's the case, we should all be embarrassed at the government for allowing this to happen. And I'm not saying it's a Biden issue. I'm talking about multiple presidents should have caught this somewhere along. Decades. I mean, this is not a Republican versus Democrat thing. This is a American government problem. That we have this amount of waste or this amount of uncertainty or this much lack of accountability on government workers. And guess who government workers work for? You all that are listening right now. And instead of them collecting a paycheck and not working or passing away and still getting a paycheck like Social Security, we should call a timeout and collect that money and put it back in our pockets. And then Trump says, I'm willing to give possibly 20% of it to the American workers. I don't think you need to do that. Shore up Social Security. Fund it separately. Don't include it in all the other government programs.
Yeah.
And let's shore that up so the seniors don't have to worry about Social Security being cut. Pay down the government's $36 trillion in debt. That would be a good spend of money. But I like the program. I think, Musk is taking shots left and right for it. But look, he's just using common sense. This is just basic stuff. This is not an attack on anybody. It's basically saying we're spending money. We expect a return on that investment. We expect a return for our IRS agents. We expect a return for those working in Social Security. We expect a return for Social Security disability to be monitored properly and people not refused disability that are clearly eligible for it and struggling. Like, lean it out, get good people in place, force them to work like we all worked hard in our 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. And let's stop the nonsense. And then, that carries over to the international exposure and abuse we're taking economically from other countries. But this Social Security, that's a very interesting, if it's true. I don't think anybody's lived to 150, at least in the United States, not with our poisoned food.
Maybe in the Old Testament, but I'm not sure that anybody currently is doing it. I mean, we talked about it about 5-6 months ago that maybe the first person that will live to 120 is alive right now, and we'll find that out. And I think all of this can be very polarizing based on how it's being done and, of course, who's doing it. But putting that aside, I think there are some serious questions about not just the viability of certain government programs, but how they're being managed and how they've been managed for that matter. And those are the things that they're trying to at least take a look under the hood. And I don't have any pun intended whatsoever there because Elon Musk is there, but it is what it is. Something needed to be looked at and has needed to be looked at for some time. So we'll stick a pin in all of that, and let me just kind of dial into Social Security at large for us here on the show, because it is one of the guaranteed streams of income for retirement, but the strategy on when to trigger and start collecting benefits is different for everyone or every couple. Chris, how do you help clients identify the right time and the right way to do it?
Yeah, so especially if you're married, right, there's over hundreds of combinations and triggering Social Security if you have two people that are eligible for it. So we run a complete analysis on Social Security. It's not uncommon. Any financial advisory team, I believe, should be able to run it and run a complete analysis and give you an optimal strategy, but then give you 2 or 3 other options that may work better for you as an individual or an individual family. So just because a tool says, here's how you optimize it, does not mean that's right for you. Mm-hmm. Here's an example as to why. Obviously, a software tool is going to use life expectancy rates. Mm-hmm. You may have longevity in your family. I mean, my wife's got a 99-year-old grandmother. Right. So she's probably going to live very long and outlive me. You know, whether she lives to 100 or 120 or 150, you know, we've got to have the right strategy for if my Social Security pays more than my wife's, should I defer it until 70 years old? So because she can only step into one. She can either use hers or she can use her husband's. So we analyze that. We analyze if you're going to trigger early. Hopefully everybody listening knows if you turn on Social Security before 67 years old, you have to watch how much income you make, because if you make too much, if you're filing joint, I believe it's around $50,000. If you make over $50,000, they will take away $1 of Social Security, I think, for every 3 that you generate in income over that $50,000 threshold. Nobody wants a penalty. No. That's a penalty. That's not including the fact that Social Security is taxed. You know, it just occurred to me, I'm on an income tax tear as far as not wanting any retirees to pay income tax. Why are retirees paying Social Security tax?
Right.
Doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Not at all.
We've paid into this thing. The government has held it, invested it, and used our money. We're basically the bank for them. Mm-hmm. And now they're going to tax us up to 80% on Social Security. So it does require analysis. Also included in that analysis is a gap analysis. And what I mean by that is if the government lowers the Social Security payment to extend its funding, we've got a study that says your gap might be $500 a month or $800 a month or $300 a month. So now we can strategize with our clients inside of their financial plan on how we're going to shore up that gap. So if your gap is $500, can we find fixed income products to make up for that? Can we find dividends to make up for that? Do you have a pension? Or if you don't have a pension, should we research and consider an income annuity? Those are guaranteed income streams from an insurance company that will pay you for the rest of your life. Wouldn't be bad to have that in your back pocket in case Social Security gets lowered. I don't believe it's ever going to be eliminated. That would be Armageddon. But they could play with it. They could lower it, or they could keep moving the ages, the full retirement age, up, and kind of force us out of it. So there's a lot to be discussed. This all really focuses on our ability and our strong desire to put together income plans for our callers. You start with a portfolio x-ray. That'll basically scrub everything that's in your portfolio and break it all down and give us the good, the bad, and the ugly. From there, we move to income planning. Income planning is the holistic income plan of how much your financial life can pay you month over month, year over year, and it includes a tax strategy. So that's a vital component. Inside that income plan, obviously, we're running a Social Security analysis as well. So Social Security is it will pay you over $1 million in your lifetime, in your retirement lifetime. That's a big number, folks, right? We want every penny of that. So it's important to run the analysis. It's important to do a gap analysis and build that into your long-term financial planning.
Yeah, it is a very large number. And I was kind of curious about this. Do you think that there are some people that get overwhelmed by the complexity of finding that right strategy, especially if they're doing it on their own and maybe they've got that preconceived notion of what they should do because they've seen or heard how a friend or family member claimed it, but in reality, it's not the best for them.
Yeah, so I think they oversimplify it, actually. I've had people come in and say, yeah, I'm going to trigger at this age because I did a chart, and I realized that if I trigger at this age and I collect this money, then my break-even point is, 78 or age 82. But what they fail to do is calculate for the fact that if you pull Social Security and you don't need to take it out of your portfolio, those dollars sit in your portfolio and they make money for you. So there's a lot more to the analysis than just saying, okay, if I trigger at 67 and I live to 82, here's how much I've collected, versus if I wait until 70 and I live to 82, here's how much I've collected. And I think people oversimplify that process, and certainly none of them have the software or analysis tools to do a gap study on potential damages that the government could cause to your Social Security payment.
I think the phrase that we've used for a lot of the different strategies that Hoffman Financial Group can help you with is the art and the science of identifying those right ways, those right strategies to maximize, whether it's your savings account, whether it's Social Security, whatever it may be. We talk about Social Security all the time here on Money Unleashed because with hundreds of ways to claim, as you mentioned earlier, everybody's facing their own unique situation. So what can we do for listeners today to help those folks get the most out of their Social Security?
Yeah, so let us work on both the science and the art. The science of it is the report that we would do, studying all the varying scenarios for you, the hundreds that are out there, and giving you the top 5 or top 8. And one of them will say, here's our recommended optimal strategy. But then you need to take that scientific report and build it into an art form for an individual family. You may have too much pre-tax IRA money and you want to draw down some of that at small levels between age 62 and 67. That might be a better strategy than triggering Social Security early. It may be a better strategy than triggering Social Security at your full retirement age. Or we may say, hey, look, we don't have longevity in our family history, so both of us will live. We don't know. Nobody knows when you're going to pass away, but we want to take the life expectancy risk off the table. So that's the art form, and that's where it becomes, you connect those two. You connect the science of Social Security with the art form based on all of your financial life being looked at, and we can narrow it down and pick the best possible strategy for you, combining the art and the science of Social Security.
Social Security analysis is a complimentary service. It can fold into that full financial plan. Typically, everything begins with that portfolio x-ray, and it's all available for you at unleashyourmoney.com, or you can give us a call and set up your time to speak with one of the great advisors at the Hoffman Financial Group at 404-341-6767. That's 404-341-6767, or again, online at unleashyourmoney.com. Chris Hoffman is an investment advisor representative of Brookstone Wealth Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor and affiliate of Brookstone Capital Management, LLC. BWA and Hoffman Financial Group are affiliated under common ownership. Registered investment advisors and investment advisor representatives act as fiduciaries for all of our investment management clients. We have an obligation to act in the best interest of our clients and to make full disclosures of any conflicts of interest. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV 2A, page 4, for additional information. The Hoffman Financial Group and WSB are not affiliated. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. This information should not be considered tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a professional specializing in the field of tax, legal, accounting, or investments regarding the applicability of this information for their situation. Any client experiences discussed during the show are unique to that client. They are not meant to imply or suggest you will experience the same results. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments will fluctuate, and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Any comments regarding safe and secure products and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Fixed insurance and annuity product guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of of the issuing company and are not offered by Brookstone. Index or fixed annuities are not designed for short-term investments and may be subject to caps, restrictions, fees, and surrender charges as described in the annuity contract. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV2A Item 4, for additional information. Hoffman Financial Group is not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Insurance licensed in Georgia, number 163546.